What's going on YouTube? So the Lexus NX has quickly become one of the most popular products in their lineup, occupying a happy medium between the UX and the bigger RX.
And today we're in the 2024 NX 350 model, which is their most popular powertrain choice.
So with some 2024 tweaks, is this a great competitor to the German rivals? Well, let's go ahead and find out. All right, so let's get things started here under the hood. So what we have with our NX is one of 4 different powertrain options. This is the 350 model, so it's a 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, making 275 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque.
It's going to be paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. You have standard front-wheel drive for the 250 models, standard all-wheel drive for the 350 models. As far as fuel economy is concerned, 28 mpg for 250, 24 mpg for 350 models, and of course there are hybrid offerings if you want better fuel economy, but we'll detail that all in the test drive portion.
Exactly, and of course we are going to go out on that detailed test drive a little later in the video, get things like our signature sound level reading as well. But first, let's close up the hood, see if there's anything new with the exterior of this NX. Now, when it comes to the design, it is very much signature Lexus. You have all the expected elements here with the NX, and of course, this is a pretty new model, so it is very fresh and up to date. That includes our spindle grille. Now, of course, as you expect from Lexus products, you do have pretty much 2 different versions going on. You have a more subdued version than this, or you can go for the F Sport, which is what we have today. That's going to give you the largest black spindle grille here with this mesh inside. It also is going to give you the really aggressive looking elements over here on the side. Definitely the most sporty model in the lineup. Now, as we turn over here to our headlights, you are going to have standard bi-LED headlights. We have the optional triple beam LED headlights. And of course, you've got your signature arrowhead daytime running light as well as LED turn signal indicator. These include headlamp washers as well. And then down below, we have LED fog lamps. Now, as we roll around to the rear design, the NX was actually one of the first Lexus products to kind of set the standard for their new design language. That includes, things like Lexus being spelled out across the back as well as the taillights.
Yeah, and since we're talking about those taillights, I'm going to have Drew hop inside and see if all of the elements are LED for this taillight design. So we have an LED brake light portion, an LED reverse light, and an LED amber turn signal indicator. So 3 out of 3 elements are LED. Also, all of the accenting is LED, so I have to applaud Lexus on that. I like all the elements to be LED, although I will say the brake light is really quite small, so that's a little bit of an interesting design choice, especially when you had all this real estate to make it a little bit bigger. Now, dropping down, we do have some matte black plastic through here, and we do also have a very aggressive diffuser design. That's because we have the F Sport model. That's going to spice things up down here a lot. One thing I want to point out, though, is no exposed exhaust outlets on any NX model, and as the great American Idol judge Randy Jackson would say, that's going to be a no for me. I really would like for some exposed exhaust outlets to be on this F Sport model at least.
Moving on to our wheels, you do have standard 18-inch alloy wheels, and then you also have available 20-inch alloy wheels, which are included here on the F Sport. As you can see, we have the nice gloss black finish, which matches with the other elements on the exterior. New for 2024, you have an optional 20-inch alloy with a new design. Now, as we move above here, you got your F Sport branding. Of course, you have the blacked out mirrors here on the F Sport, and we have all the features as well. So that means we have power folding, auto dimming, blind spot monitoring, and heating.
Now, before we talk about this side, I do want to point out, I forgot to mention the tow rating of the NX. It's 2,000 pounds for both the 250 and 350 models. Now, as far as the overall length of this vehicle, it's coming in at 183.5 inches, which does place it actually as shorter than the Audi Q5, as well as some of the other main rivals. It's going to be on the smaller end for the segment, and you can definitely notice that here at the side. We do have some blacked out roof rails up top, blacked out window surrounds, and overall, I think it has a very nice look. Now for your safety systems, the NX is going to come loaded, just like I like my baked potatoes, because you're going to have all of the active safety features as standard equipment in their Lexus Safety System Plus 3.0 suite. So that's going to be all of your active features. But guys, that's going to wrap up the exterior design of this 2024 NX. Now let's go ahead and hop on the inside. But before, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now on to the interior, but first we'll take a look at our key fob. Of course, you have standard smart entry on the NX. This is the typical Lexus key fob. You also have optional digital key if you don't want to use this key fob. And to get inside, this does have the electronic door handle, so even though it looks normal, you're just going to pinch the pad that's located behind it, and that will open up the door. Now we'll go ahead and take a look inside of the cabin. There actually have been some changes, which I'll point out in just a second, but let's first talk about materials and color options. So we have standard Nulux leatherette. That same Nulux leatherette will also apply to this F Sport model, and then the top end luxury trim level will come with Palomino real leather. Now as far as your color choices, as you can see, we do have the black, but on the F Sport you can also get circuit red, which is a very vivid red. The seats themselves are special sport seats on the F Sport, so as you can see, really thick bolsters that hold you in place super well, and these are very comfortable seats. As far as the seat adjustment, 8-way power adjusting with 2-way lumbar support, and you do have available memory seating, although we don't have it on today's example. Now that I'm inside, let's look at the rest of the cabin materials. Starting over here with our door trim, we have a nice leather material through here as well as in the center section. It is going to be soft touch along the top, and then we have a piece of trim. Here on the F Sport, this is going to be a real aluminum. You can also get an open pore wood on the luxury. So we go to the upper dash, this is all going to be a soft touch plastic. And this is where I want to pause for a second and point out our 2024 change. Now, unfortunately, here with the black interior, it's not a visible change, but if you choose a different color, such as the circuit red that the F Sport's available in, for 2024, this center section of the door trim would now be red as well, and this glove box plastic. So this part that actually folds down, this would all be finished in the same red as the rest, and that does apply to other trim levels with like white interiors and etc. Now, finishing up the materials, nice leather that runs through here for your knee to rest against. But let's go ahead and fire it up here. Now let's head into a first-person perspective and take a closer look. First stop is going to be our gauge cluster. So as you can see, this is a partially digital gauge cluster. All the models are going to have this with a approximately 7-inch display right there in the middle. It doesn't have a ton of functionality, and that's because most of the models are going to come with a head-up display. This is standard on the 350 F Sport, and it's an excellent head-up display. You have basically a ton of functionality, so you can press down on these touch capacitive sensors on both sides of the steering wheel, and this is where you can adjust all types of settings, do things like your cruise control, and all of that without even taking your eyes off the road. Now as we pull back to the steering wheel, of course we got the latest Lexus design. Nice thick rim here. It does have dedicated F Sport branding. And if you choose all but the base model, you will have a power adjusting steering wheel. Steering wheel heating is also available. That's via a new package for 2024 called the Cold Area Package. But you know what time it is? It's time to check the interior storage. So we'll start out underneath our center console. This is actually a very big center console for this category of vehicle. Nice and wide, good and deep, and it also has a felt lining. So when we get this big stack of coupons out, as you can see, this is going to fit in here no problem whatsoever. This might be one of the very best in the class. Up in front of that, we have our 2 cup holders. You have a little storage shelf right here, a nice storage area with an optional wireless phone charging pad that's packaged, with the digital key system. And then down below that, you have another layer of storage with a 12-volt outlet. Now pulling back to the shifter, this is the latest Lexus electronic style. So you're just going to press over to the left and pull back for drive. You can also pull back once more, and that will activate a manual mode for the paddle shifters. Push to the left and go forward, reverse, and when you do, you will be greeted with a standard backup camera or an available 360-degree camera on all models. This version does come with active trajectory, and our mirrors fold down when in reverse to help you see the parking lines better. Of course, press the P for park. Behind that, you have your brake hold and your electronic parking brake, which automatically engages. Moving on from that, we have our drive mode controller. And then the next place we come to is our volume knob. So as far as audio systems are concerned, there are two of them. Standard 10 speakers or an available Mark Levinson 17 speaker sound system. We have the standard 10 speaker version, so let's give it a sample. Overall sound quality of this system is perfectly adequate. It really fills up the cabin nicely and has plenty of bass, but of course, if you're really into music, you will want to upgrade to the Mark Levinson because that's a very, very good sounding sound system. Okay, so let's go ahead and start to talk about this whole area. As you can see, we have the smaller display option. So this is a 9.8-inch display as opposed to the 14-inch display, which is optional. That's going to impact this lower area, which is dedicated to our climate control. So we still have a standard dual zone automatic climate control setup. It's just that we have the buttons kind of located to the side of the display instead of integrated inside of the display itself. And then your other controls are located right here with your climate functions. This is also where you turn on and off your heated steering wheel, and you have standard 3-stage heated seats which operate automatically. If you want seat ventilation here on the F Sport model though, that will require upgrading to the luxury F Sport package. As far as the functionality inside of this display, it is pretty much the same as the 14-inch display, so it's using the latest Lexus interface software. One thing you will be missing though is integrated navigation, but you still have wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay. Rising above to our mirrors, we have the optional digital rear camera mirror system. So that's going to give you that live stream of the back. Has your HomeLink universal remotes built into it as well. And then as I press that button, that's going to open up our available sunroof. This is the standard size option for $1,100. You can also get a panoramic sunroof for about $1,600.
Now let's talk about the rear seat area of this Lexus NX. The first thing I want to talk about is the space. We're going to be sitting at 36.1 inches of legroom, 38.5 inches of headroom, which does mean it's a little bit smaller than some of its main rivals like Audi Q5 as well as Acura RDX, but not by a massive, massive amount. It's still a decent amount of space overall, unless you're like well into the 6-foot range. I don't think you're going to have a problem with knee space, as I have looks about 7 inches of space between my knees and the seat back. I'm 5'9", Drew's 5'8". My feet can also slide up underneath the seat, so I'm pretty comfortable overall. One thing I do want to point out is the seats do recline just a little bit, about half an inch. So you're not going to be like doing a lazy boy full recline in this NX, but it makes it a little bit more comfortable. Now here in the center, we do have vents on all the models, as you would expect. This is a luxury vehicle. One of the things you're going to see missing over a lot of the German rivals are climate controls. No climate controls. It's just going to be 2 zones in the NX. Dropping down below that, we have a 12-volt outlet, 2 USB-C ports for charging. Heated rear seats are an option. I do not believe it's available on F Sport models though. And we do have 2 cup holders here in the middle. If we look at our door trim, it's going to be pretty blank for the most part. It's soft touch on the upper part. We do have some more of that trim through the middle. And then we also have some leather on this portion as well as the armrest portion. Then down the very bottom, we have a little bit of storage. Now walking up to the tailgate on the NX, we do have a standard power opening one. If you go for the luxury package on any of the models, that's going to throw in the hands-free abilities, but we don't have that on this particular model today. Now, as far as the space is concerned back here, once again, you're going to see that this is one of these smaller offerings in the segment. We're sitting at about 23 cubic feet of space behind the second row seats. If we fold those down, we're going to be sitting at about 47 cubic feet of space. That's going to be less than Audi Q5, less than Acura RDX. Really, all the main rivals, it's going to be on the very smaller end. One thing worth noting, though, is that the Lexus RX, the bigger brother model, actually doesn't have much more cargo capacity than this NX, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, as far as some of the finishings, if we lift up the cargo floor, we actually have a lot more space under here, so you could have all this hidden from view. We can also further lift it up, and we have additional storage cubbies underneath of there. We have a cargo cover. We do not have handles to electrically fold the 60/40 split folding rear seats. That is actually an optional feature. It's grouped with heated rear seats, so I'm going to have to go up there to the second row right now and just manually fold them down. It's not too bad overall, but it is a little bit of an inconvenience to have to go to both sides to fold the seats down. And I did bring my measuring tape so we could see how much space there is from the back of the seat back all the way to the rear cargo area. We're looking at about 70 inches of space. And you know what, guys? The average sized adult bike is 69 inches long. It's a great measurement, but 69 inches long, so that does mean, theoretically, you could fit a full-size adult bike in this NX's cargo area. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2024 Lexus NX. In this test drive, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. You can see those on the screen right now, including getting our signature sound level reading. So stay tuned for that. But first, let's go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
Nice. All right. Just like that, we accelerate up to about 60 miles per hour in the NX 350. So 350, as you'd expect, does make more power than the 250 model. As a reminder of what this is, 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. It's making 275 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque. It is the same as in the RX 350, but of course this is a smaller product, so it does help it move to 60 a good deal faster than the RX. Actually, a 0 to 60 for this is rated at 6.6 seconds.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good 0 to 60 for this segment of vehicle. It is going to be a little bit slower than some of the German rivals, but not by a ton. I mean, this is a pretty quick offering, that's for sure. 350 no longer means 3.5 liter V6, but you know, the turbo 4-cylinder certainly does a very good job in this vehicle. Now, there are a lot of other powertrain options. You heard us briefly mention this at the beginning, but Lexus has really given us a ton of different choices. So we start out with the 250 model. That's going to be the most budget-friendly NX model and also the slowest one. That's going to be a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, 203 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque. So basically that's the same engine that you get in like a Toyota RAV4 or a Toyota Camry, brought to the NX to give you that more affordable price point. Now, will it probably be a little slower? For sure. 0 to 60 is 8.2 seconds on that model. Now, we do also have the 350H model, which is the traditional hybrid, and then you have the H Plus model, which is the plug-in hybrid NX. So Lexus is giving you all four options there. I like that they do have the plug-in hybrid offering, and I like that they have a traditional hybrid. So no matter where you are on that electrification scale, Lexus has you covered, just traditional gas, hybrid, or plug-in hybrid.
As far as the other aspect of the powertrain, that of course is going to be the transmission. What we have on board is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Of course, does shift through the gears nice and smoothly, as you'd expect from a Lexus product. And then if you choose one of the hybrid versions, that is going to get you an eCVT.
Yeah, and then as far as your drive trains, it's going to be front-wheel drive standard on the 250 model. All-wheel drive is standard on the 350 models. You can get available all-wheel drive on 250 as well. Your fuel economy is going to be the best in the 250 model, 28 miles a gallon combined, 24 mpg combined if you go for the 350 model. But do keep in mind, you have the hybrid offering that gets 39 miles a gallon, and then you also have the plug-in hybrid, so that gets, I believe, 37 miles of full electric range on that one. So you have higher fuel economy figures if you want that. This is actually going to be the worst fuel economy in the entire lineup. And I do want to talk about your ride quality for this Lexus NX. You know, just kind of cruising down the road here, we've spent significant time with this model. We had it on a week loan. We've reviewed it like 3 or 4 times at least already of this new generation. And the ride quality has always very much impressed me. When you go for the F Sport handling model, you do get adaptive dampers, and they do a very good job of making you have a very smooth ride quality when you're just kind of cruising along. It also makes it to where it has a little bit more adaptability when you're on a country road, as we've learned. All right, now that we're going 55 miles per hour, let's go ahead and get our signature sound level reading. Looks like we're gonna sit at 55.6 decibels as our official Car Confections reading. Now, as far as how that compares to the competition, that's going to put it at the upper end of the segment, but pretty close to the middle of the pack. As you can see, we've tested out a lot of vehicles in this segment, and if you want to actually see the full list of compact luxury SUVs, go ahead to www.carconfections.com. We have a website with all of our published sound level readings on there. You can actually organize by the quietest, the loudest, so you can really see where this vehicle lands in the segment.
Now, as I go around that corner, this is a good time to talk a little bit about dynamics. So this, of course, is the F Sport, and it is also called the F Sport handling model with this new generation because Lexus spent a little bit more time on the dynamics versus the previous generation, which was just purely a cosmetic package. And you can definitely tell that behind the wheel. This is a good handling vehicle. It is going to be still luxury oriented even in the F Sport version, but because we have adaptive dampers, we've been just kind of driving around in the regular mode, but you can go into Sport S. That's going to tighten everything up. It's also going to make the steering more responsive, change the throttle response, and overall just, you know, make this a little bit more dialed in. So that was the auto start stop system working. This is a good and smooth auto start stop system. You can turn it off if you don't like it though.
But let's go ahead and go into our Car Confections Slam Dunk and Airball. Drew, what's the Slam Dunk?
So for this, that's going to be just the number of powertrain choices you have. You've heard us mention it numerous times throughout this review. The fact that, unlike most of the competition, we have 4 choices. So we have a low-powered 4-cylinder, and then you can go up in power. You can go to a regular hybrid for max fuel economy, and you can even get a plug-in hybrid, which is pretty rare in this segment.
Now, as far as our airball is concerned, we're going to say it's the space of this NX. That's really its biggest problem. It's actually smaller in terms of length than a lot of the rivals. It also doesn't have as much cargo space or rear seat legroom, so you're definitely going to notice the space problem with this NX when you compare it to some of its other rivals. Now, I imagine a lot of that might have something to do with the fact that Lexus sells a bunch of RXs and they didn't want to make it too big. So I understand why they did that, but also when you're comparing it with other things in the segment, you're going to notice the space difference. And the last thing I want to talk about is your warranty. You're going to have Lexus Signature warranty with this model, 4 year 50,000 miles basic, 6 year 70,000 mile powertrain. Lexus also throws in the first and second maintenance visit as complimentary, so that's going to be a pretty big benefit over a lot of the German competition that has a shorter warranty and many times does not include complimentary maintenance. Now at the beginning, we said this is one of the value offerings in the segment. You're gonna come in a lot cheaper than some of the German rivals. And really the main reason for that is because of that base 250 model. So the 250 front wheel drive starts at $40,205 for 2024. Prices are gonna rise about $1,000 if you're curious for the 2024 model year. Now if we want all-wheel drive, it's $41,805. The 350 is gonna be $43,965. And then the 350F Sport, like today, we're going to start at $49,095. We do also have several more options on this particular model. There's a lot of optional equipment on this NX. When we add in, even for a lightly optioned model, plus the 1150 destination, we're looking at $53,530, which is relatively in line with some of those German rivals. It's actually going to be a little bit more expensive than an Acura RDX. And guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of the 2024 Lexus NX 350. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support because you make this all possible. We do this for a full-time job, so we certainly love what we do and we have you to thank for that, so thanks so much. If you haven't had the chance to check out our TikTok and Instagrams, please go ahead and check that out. We also have a merch store where you can buy some of our merch, and we have a website. So go check all of those things out to continue to support the brand. Anyway, we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.